Well, thank you and good evening. And I'm joined here by my colleague David Clark and also a number of key staff that work here at the town of Newmarket on this important project. Dale Albers, our Chief Communication Officer, Andrea Whitty, our Community Liaison Senior Project Manager, and her colleague, I'm just forgetting her name. Michelle, sorry. And also Lisa Shepard, our Senior Project Engineer on the project. And everyone, I know you get to see many of these faces quite regularly here at the town. Mr. Clark and I are going to give you a brief overview. We're going into a very busy time with the Rapid Transit project, something that we've all worked collectively together very hard to achieve. And as we begin to move forward really on the major construction of this project, we wanted to make sure that you were very aware and the community was aware of the activities that will be going on over, in fact, the next two and a half years on this project. But tonight is a snapshot of the next 90 days of activity. It will be a very busy time as we begin to move all of the utilities out of the way and get ready to do the major construction down the middle of Davis Drive. But first, we wanted to give you just a brief snapshot, an overview of one of the segments of the section of Davis Drive to give you an idea how the streetscape will emerge. So when people ask that question, well, what's this all going to look like when it's done, Mr. Clark will give you a sense of a very key part of the corridor.
So this is a snapshot of the corridor between Main Street on your left and Prospect on your right. It's about a quarter of the segment of rapidways that we're building, and so looking down on the street of the future, you can see the red lines through the center of the plan. That is the rapidways. That's where the buses will run in their exclusive right-of-way, giving us a high level of service for rapid transit through the corridor. At Main Street, that's one of our stations. You can see the kind of the very light blue image on the near side and the far side of the intersection. That's where the transit stops in the middle of the street. And then along the edges, as you know, if anyone who's been along Davis Drive knows that activity has already been going on. We've acquired all of the properties to widen the street. That's with the objective of putting the transit down the middle of the street, but also to improve some of the traffic movements on the street. Today we have some intersections that share left-hand turns with through traffic. We're going to fix all those along the street and put dedicated lefts in at Main Street and Prospect where things bog down today, maintain the two lanes of traffic each way that we have today, and add those lanes pockets for left-hand turns at all the signalized intersections along the street. So things should be better from a transit and traffic standpoint along Davis Drive as people try and move through the corridor. We've taken enough land to actually put full boulevard treatments in. They're over 5 meters wide, about 16 feet wide. 2-meter sidewalks, wider than what typically is in most municipalities. They're usually 5 feet. These are wider than that. We anticipate always that we'll have better pedestrian traffic along these streets in the future. And a full boulevard treatment means trees along the corridor. We're going to plant about 340 trees in the corridor on both sides of the street as continuous as we can. We've got a lot of driveways there today that we need to accommodate, but where we can, we'll maximize the tree cover along the street so that we'll have a full treatment from end to end. And in certain places where we can, we separate the two transit right-of-ways and put trees in the middle of the street as well, in the median. Some of the special features on the Main Street side is that's the heritage area. We're doing some special treatments, working with staff to come up with special landscape treatments. We're going to put pedestrian lights in there that have the Main Street character that are already in place along Main Street. So we're going to celebrate that on Davis Drive and at the Main Street intersection. The Union Hotel, which is a heritage building, and its partner to the east. We're not going to demolish those buildings. We're going to lift them up and move them back, put them in a new location just back from the street. A lot of effort to go into that, but it's worth it. These are part of Newmarket's heritage, and they deserve to be part of the new corridor. As we develop those streetscapes, this is the kind of patterns that we're looking at. You can see at the top of the plan, that's the red asphalt, which characterizes the rapid way. We'll put red asphalt in the intersections to try and make them very special places, new crosswalks that are safe for pedestrians, but also for the visually impaired, so they will be able to maneuver around and use the streets and access the corridor for transit purposes as well. And in the highly pedestrian areas around the intersections, all unit pavers. We're going to put some trees in tree pits there with tree grates in them, so that we can have as much pedestrian activity as we can. So that's part of the palette of all the new things that will be in the corridor. And of course, what comes along with it is a full package of furnishings: benches, bicycle racks, waste containers, and where we have them, newspapers. They go in a little garage, as it were, on the street to try and clean them up and give them a very important presence and have them part of the aesthetic of the street. We've got some retaining walls out there. I think you've seen them already today. And where we have a drop that we have to protect, we'll put some decorative railings in with a wood top on them, so that they're handsome and they provide safety, but they're also a visual amenity in the corridor. So this is some of the things that we're doing, and that'll be part of the full palette of treatment along the corridor when this is completed at the end of 2014.
So over the next 90 days, on this drawing, what you're seeing is some of the activity that will be occurring as the utility areas are started to be worked on: hydro, gas, telecommunication, duct bank, a significant amount of work. And the main message from this visualization is to let you know that both sides of the street will be touched multiple times. It's a very complicated sort of almost intimate walk back and forth across the intersection, where the utilities have to work closely together with our constructor to set back the utilities to make way for the works that will occur in the middle of the right-of-way. And so while our community liaison officers will work very closely with all of the commercial property owners and parties that are on Davis Drive corridor, to let them know what activity is occurring across the front of their property and when. So that's over the next 90 days, and some of that work will require temporary lane closures, and that is in order for, in the case of the new hydro caissons that need to be put in, and the new towers that have to be lifted up and over the old lines before they can be set back. You will see from time to time lane closures to accommodate the crane, because the crane is actually lifting the new poles up and over the old lines. So it will be disruptive. However, we'll work to minimize these areas as they move along the length of the corridor.
So I think, as you're aware, one of the major projects that we need to do in the corridor, and we started on that project last year, was to rebuild the Keith Bridge. It needs to be widened in order to accommodate the new transportation movements across it. We came up with a very strong heritage look to it to kind of replace what was there in the original. We had some drawings from 1929 that actually were a bit of an inspiration, because they were quite a lovely bridge was there in the past, and we've tried to pick up some of those features. We've built the south half of that bridge, and where we're going to focus our attention this year, starting in the summer, is that we're going to move the traffic to the new side that we've built. So we're going to flip the traffic over to the south side onto the new structure and divert it over the Holland River, and that will release us to be able to demolish the north side of the existing bridge and put the new bridge structure in there, and then restore the traffic. So this is a project that's going to take us 2 years to do, roughly 2 seasons at least to do. So we'll be in this area working on this bridge this year and next for a good part of it before it's complete.
Another important area where there will be as well traffic disruption will be around the hospital. And the main access, maybe a little difficult to see on this smaller drawing, but on your screen, on Davis Drive, the main entrance into the hospital, which is currently used for access to the emergency area, will be closed. It will be closed to accommodate a major culvert reconstruction for a culvert that is currently in a fairly significant state of deterioration and needed to be replaced in any event. So in order to allow us to do that culvert reconstruction, we've been working very closely with the hospital. There will be significant amounts of communication over the course of the next month or so to help the public and obviously all of the emergency service providers with significant upfront notice with respect to revised access into the hospital. And just very briefly, cars that are coming from the east will come in across Davis Drive.
Over here.
Over here.
Coming here, coming
and
west.
we'll turn south on Roxborough and then come in the laneway just by the seniors buildings and then into the emergency from the rear. And vehicles coming in from the west will come down Prospect and then in again through the rear lane and up into the emergency access. So, and again, there will be significant notice provided to the public, and we're working very closely with the hospital on this important piece of infrastructure work. That infrastructure work, the culvert is actually, and the creek appears between the two parking lots that you see on the south side. You can't see it on the north side because there's actually a creek running underneath the Kentucky Fried Chicken, and it's all the creek is buried till it appears somewhat further north along that area. And today there are two corrugated steel culverts in this location that are in a state of disrepair and some amount of collapse. So we'll be narrowing the traffic lanes down here to have one lane in either direction with a turning movement to accommodate access to the various owners north and south of Davis Drive. And then once the work is done on the north side, we'll put the new culvert in place. Then we'll move the traffic to the north side, and again, there will be closures on the south side to accommodate that work.
So there's some other project activities that will be going on at the same time. Some of them that are already underway out in the corridor. We're at about 90% design. We've shared those drawings with the town staff. We're getting final comments to get those drawings issued for construction. In order to understand what's going on in the corridor, it's an old corridor, as you know. We do have drawings for all of the utilities, but they don't always represent exactly where they are. So we have to do quite a bit of technical work, potholing and borehole and precondition surveys to really confirm where everything is in the corridor. We're still, we've done a significant amount of work so far. There's still a little bit more to do. So you may see these potholing trucks or geotech trucks out there in the corridor from time to time. We've commenced the tree removal and transplant process. We have to take out a little over 220 trees in the corridor and put back the 340 that new. We're going to move about 6 or 7 trees, I think. 10. We're up to 10. We're going to transplant into the public school. There are about 7 transformers that are private. They used to be or are close to the street. They're now in the property that the region has acquired, so they have to be relocated. We've moved 2 of them already. There's 5 more to go. There's a whole bunch of signs that owners and tenants own that are now in regional property. We have to work with each of those owners to set those signs back and relocate them off the regional property back onto their own property. That work is underway. And survey work to confirm where those signs are and where they're located. And that'll all be going on in the corridor over the next number of weeks and months. The Union Hotel, we're going to make our submission to the town. I think we have in principle agreement on what we're doing. We just need to get that formal approval from the town, get our building permit. We're going to issue that tender shortly. It'll take us probably 2 to 3 months to lift that building up. build a foundation and put the building on the new foundation. We're going to start that work likely in the summer. It might slide over into the fall, but it'll be coordinated with the other activities going on. And then the Shell station that's at Parkside on the south side, we've purchased that property. Shell actually was not interested in continuing to operate there. So we've acquired the whole of the site. It is contaminated. We need to demolish that building, and we have to do a significant amount of remediation on that property. So we're going to be digging that contamination out and taking that away starting in about 3 weeks' time. So it's about a 45-day contract. So you'll see that happening in the corridor as well.
So with all this activity going on, we know that the community will be engaging with you and wanting to understand what is going on in the corridor, how long is it going to last, why is it touching me multiple times, and so there is a great deal of information that we want to be able to share not only with yourselves but also with the community. So we've developed a number of strategies to help us do that, and they include our whole launch campaign. There'll be a number of local ads, emails, website, Facebook, VMS signs, that's a variable message sign that's up along the corridor telling people in real time how long it's taking to travel in the corridor during the construction period. We're currently using those down on Highway 7, and they're very helpful. There'll be information packages available. This presentation will be up on our website and will be available for anyone to look at and to develop, ask any questions around. We have a comprehensive business support campaign that we've worked through with the Chamber of Commerce that we're ready to unfold. And on site, in addition to having access to all of the various forms of social media, you always have access to our two community liaison faces and persons who are always out there in the field ready to actively answer any questions that we have. And Michelle and Andrea are doing a great job of making themselves well known in the community and are available to ask any direct questions that there may be as the project unfolds. So many, many ways to get in touch with us, in addition to being available at your local fairs and community information sessions as opportunities to make contact with us. So that's the end of a brief but complicated understanding of the project that's about to unfold on Davis Drive.
Members of Council have received a thorough briefing for the 2-hour workshop that we had this afternoon. And I appreciate you bringing forward a summary, high-level review in terms of so that we can keep the community advised as well. So this is a great opportunity for us to do that. I do have a number of councillors who wish to speak. We'll start with Councillor Vague.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. This construction on Davis Drive is like going through a home renovation. It's messy, it's awful. It seems to take forever, but in 2 years' time, Davis Drive is going to be beautiful, and I don't think we've ever been able to say that before. So we're really looking forward to that. On my website, under a page, Major New Market Project, I do have another page that's a link in the discussion to what's happening on Davis Drive. You mentioned that this information will be becoming available. Do you know when that will be online, so I can let my constituents know and make sure that my site is up to date?
We'll be contacting Rogers tomorrow to get a copy of this broadcast, and we'll be posting it on YouTube and on our corporate website as soon as we get that tape. So before the end of the week.
All right, but there was mention that this presentation, is that what you're referring to? Because I'm not referring to the broadcast.
This presentation.
Okay, so that'll be online very soon, so I can add that link to my site. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Twinney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, too, for this afternoon for that lengthy workshop. It was very informative, and I'm sure the residents will appreciate some of the public information centers that you'll be having coming up. I know you've had them in the past, and they were well attended. Thank you for coming out to my ward meetings. It was very well received when you came out and did presentations in the past for me. I do have a question. I think I brought it up today in the workshop, but I think it's important to note regarding recently there was some fires on Davis Drive. And there was some information that went out through social media that was it was incorrect information regarding some buildings that perhaps are owned by the region. I just wanted to clarify which buildings that you still have on Davis Drive
Yes.
One is the Union Hotel,
Yes.
I believe, and like the other ones I think you demolished. And sort of, and I know, I believe you're taking some measures in ensuring that these properties are secure and something won't happen to them.
Yeah.
Our typical program is that once the properties are acquired, unless they have a heritage designation or they're saved for other reasons, they are demolished, and then we fence them, and you can see that on the 21 properties. Most of those are in that condition. The Union Hotel obviously is special, and so we have patrols that look at that property daily. I think we're up to two patrols a day, so we do look in on that building every day of the week. We retained the Tina's Flower Shop on the north side because the original intent was we were going to open a community liaison office there. We ran into some complications with respect to access there and guaranteeing that we would have good facilities for the public to actually access the site and park there, because the grade changes there are quite difficult to deal with. And on balance, we felt that it would be better if we were in a more accessible location. So we've now are working with the plaza at 130, the Giant Tiger Plaza, to find a place for our community liaison office there. And so we're just putting the tender together to demolish the buildings on the Tina's Flower Shop, the little garage in the front and the house. So we'll deal with that over the next 60 days. The other that we held back on proceeding with was the Parkside Shell Station. Because we had significant contamination in that site, we had a very lengthy process of dealing with that to understand what its impact would be. It, in fact, has migrated into the street. So the pollution that has been caused over many years with some tanks leaking has gone into the roadbed. We needed to understand what the scope of that is, how we would deal with that from a contractual standpoint, because we'll have workers working in that area. So we've worked our way through all of that, and so we deferred actually demolishing that building until we could get a bead on what we were going to do from a remediation standpoint. So that's all now in place, and over the next 60 days as well, we'll be taking that old gas station building and the car wash down and remediating that site. So that will then clean up everything that the region owns, save and except the Union Hotel and the building beside, which will be relocating.
I would reinforce that the patrols do patrol all three of those properties.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. There was, some confusion, and I think it's important, like residents know that you've been doing your due diligence to take care of these buildings. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sponga.
Thank you. Thank you as well for the presentation this afternoon, and I had an opportunity to express my concerns in terms of infiltration, and I'm glad to hear that in the next 90 days or so might be able to see some numbers. My question to you is, looking at, and I commend you on your comprehensive communication plan, and even as the construction occurs, I know that Andrea and Michelle have been incredible in communicating with the property owners and the businesses on the corridor. My concern, though, is that with the caisson works that is going to be occurring, the utility work, the demolition of the Shell station at Parkside, and the very extensive the scope of work that is going to occur in front of the hospital, and that a lot of traffic, and I noticed in that slide, will be diverted. There's not just a diversion in terms of an alternative route and how to access the hospital, but there's also detour routes, because whether you like it or not, there will be multiple locations where there's be lane closures or not, and a lot of traffic is going to try to find other routes to get to where they're going. And it looks like naturally those routes are going to occur south of Davis Drive. My question, it could be both to yourselves and to you, Mr. Mayor, perhaps, I don't know, to the Commissioner or the CAO. Will we ensure that large commercial vehicles, which we have found that are already infiltrating Queen Street, Millard, Park Avenue, that area, during extensive lane closures, will we ensure that, I'm not sure if it will be the responsibility of the municipality or VivaNext or jointly through with YRP, but that there will not be any large commercial vehicles as the result of lane closures and so forth infiltrating the residential neighborhoods. We're talking 90 days. We're getting into, late spring, summer. A lot of children are out playing. And how will not just the immediate area around Roxborough, Queen, and so forth be notified, but what the residents that most likely will feel the impact of those closures will be anywhere from Yonge and Millard, Queen, all the way to Roxborough and that band, east-west, immediately south of Davis Drive. How is that communication going to occur, and how is that enforcement going to be carried out to ensure that all of a sudden we don't have go buses and social haulage and so forth going past my house?
I certainly can confirm that large commercial vehicles shouldn't be in local residential neighborhoods.
You know that,
and certainly there's no expectation that the YRT vehicles or any of the GO vehicles would be moving off their current routes on Davis Drive. They're expected to be sustained, and yes, we know there's going to be a period of traffic disruptions. It's the only way to see this project happen. But they will continue to stay on Davis Drive. I don't know if your commissioner wants to speak to whether or not there are any prohibitions currently that could also help enforce the vehicles from going onto the local streets.
Mr. Prentice?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I am aware of some restrictions on those streets that Councillor Spong is referring to. We could do a review to make sure that they are comprehensive and that they're suitable. And it may be prudent, with the help of Viva, who have a very good communications network, to make contact with residents in that area and make them aware of how they can respond if they do see violations, and enlisting the support of York Regional Police. And certainly a meeting between VivaNext and the town and York Regional Police to help anticipate and to be prepared for this would be prudent, and it's a very good point to bring up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerwin?
Yes, just two quick questions again. I asked them earlier today that all residents are interested in. When will the rapid transit be available across Davis Drive so a person can buy a ticket to ride that transit system? When is it going to be finished?
So the project gets delivered at the end of 2014, December 2014. That's the due date, if you will, the construction completion date. So and there's a period of commissioning in as part of that period. So we would anticipate that shortly after that, probably within a month's time, we'd actually be operating in the corridor. So early January 2015 is where we're targeting. So.
And the last question is always of concern to, even though it's Metro Links and so forth are involved with the region, the estimated cost when it's all finished, the Yonge Street corridor and the Davis Drive corridor for the transit system when it's all completed. What is the estimated total cost when you've expropriated properties, you've rendered, environmental assessments and the property's clean, you've drained it from pollution and so forth, and you've moved the Union Hotel back and so forth? What's the estimated cost to the province of Ontario or to the corporation?
So with respect to overall funding for rapid transit corridors in York Region at this point, and that includes the work that we're also doing down on Highway 7,
right.
we've received over $1.4 billion to undertake these rapid transit projects. Between the Davis Drive segment and the segment on Yonge Street and Newmarket, projects roughly in the range of a combined budget of around $300 million. In terms of very rounded figures, it's expensive projects to undertake.
And even with all the cutbacks that the province supposedly is going to undertake, our funding is guaranteed and it will be finished.
We're under contract for that amount. I mean, nothing is sure in politics, as you
right.
know, but we're under contract with that.
Yeah.
But no, those are the questions that I've had asked.
Yeah.
Very good. So we're assured it will be up and running by 2015.
It's underway.
Very good.
Thank you. Well, Mary Frances, you have a big job ahead of you.
We better get on with it.
Well, that's true. And it'll certainly have a dramatic impact on our community over the next 3 to 5 years. But more importantly, I think it will have a substantial impact on our community for generations to come. And I think that, the difficulties that we're facing as a community in terms of the implementation and the construction, there will be generations of Newmarketonians that will thank us for what we've done. Davis Drive is tired. Davis Drive is inefficient. Davis Drive needs to be improved. And the fact that the funding can be arranged through Metrolinx and through the province, I think, is a very significant benefit to our community. And so although you may have a lot of angry phone calls and or from time to time you may have some phone calls hang up on you, what you're doing is important to our community, and we know that, and we want to thank you for that.
Oh, and thank you. We appreciate your patience and working together to get this done.
Thank you.
Thank you.